smiled weakly at the crowd, but was proud of her naked body. She knew she looked good, and only hoped that she would taste as such as well. "Looks like dinner is served," said Michelle, breaking the ice. The whole room laughed heartily, and those sitting near the edge of the table stepped aside to make room for Angela to climb up. Angela laid down on her back in the center of the table and looked up at those who were leaning over to inspect her bare body. "Delectable," one of the gentlemen said. "She looks good enough to eat. I'm not sure I even need the food," said a young lady. Michelle smirked at the small crowd and said, "Prepare yourselves for a spectacular feast." The group sat down and placed their napkins in their lap. Michelle rang her small bell, and the two slaves came out of the kitchen, rolling a cart into the room. On the top of the cart was a bowl of fresh vegetables. Next to it was a small bowl of ranch dressing. "Appetizers?" said Michelle to the table. The slaves set to work adorning Angela's body with baby carrots, celery sticks, and sliced cucumbers. Before the group began to feast, one of the girls picked up the bowl of dressing and tipped it onto Angela's stomach, letting it pool in her belly button. Angela resisted the urge to shiver at the sensation of the cold food and lay still while the guests began to nibble. One picked up a carrot and dipped it into the dressing and crunched on it with a satisfied mmm. The others began to pick food off their human serving tray and use her body to consume their snacks. One woman dripped a small glob of dressing onto Angela's left nipple and gasped. "How clumsy of me," she said with a tinge of sarcasm in her voice. "Here, let me clean that up." With that, she bent her head down and swirled her tongue around Angela's nipple, sucking it in briefly. Angela stifled a moan and continued to lie as perfectly still as was humanly possible. Another man picked up a celery stick from her thigh and traced it up and down her leg with it until she shivered slightly, making the remaining vegetables tremble on her body. Now, we don't want to make a mess of her," said Michelle. "Or do we?" Angela struggled to decipher the affirmative mumbles coming from the group. She wondered just how much of a mess they intended to make of her. The rest of the veggies were cleared off of her body, and Michelle summoned the slaves to wipe Angela down with a damp washcloth to ensure that there would be no more ranch dressing coating her body. The slaves then returned to the kitchen to retrieve the next course. Guests played with Angela's body as she lay there, waiting for what was to be distributed on her body next. One tickled the bottoms of her feet, making her giggle and squirm. Another ran their fingernails down her sides and dug into her ass, making her yelp. Angela tried to contain herself, but it was nearly too much for her. As the slaves brought out the second course, Angela inhaled the fragrant scent of roasted duck and imagined the feeling of the sweet, sticky sauce all over her body. The slaves left the cart to the side of the table and exited the room. I think we should let our next course cool a little bit, lest we subject our dear centerpiece to something too hot to handle," said Michelle. The crowd agreed, but one voice stood out. "Well, what can we do with her while we wait?" one woman asked. "Excellent question," said Michelle, walking over to a brown leather chest in the corner of the room. From it, she grabbed a heap of rope, a large cordless vibrator, and a blindfold. "Let's see if we can't make her squirm just a little bit," Michelle said.